every meet, and
he
they
brings
have
the ugly ones too,
rainbows
so you
and
have
unicorns on them, right? And that is your shame for not being prepared, so you won't let it happen again in the future. But the other thing to look for with socks that I've been kind of thinking about, and I haven't seen any of this today, but none of your layers can be touching, right?
Okay.
So this is raw, this is single ply, like there's no overlap allowed. So if you have knee-high socks that you're going to use for deadlifts, you don't want those on during squats because they cannot be touching your knee sleeves. And your singlet cannot be touching your knee sleeves. There needs to be a separation between everything that you're wearing. The only overlap is, your belt around you.
Yep, and socks and shoes, obviously.
And socks and your shoes, of course, but the singlet, knee sleeves, sock cannot have a touch.
That makes sense. Okay. Learned something new today.
I actually did not know about the overlapping of the layers.
I've always seen it very, very close, and I just figured it doesn't.
It's
but you
like,
cannot have it
matter.
overlap.
It actually does matter, yeah.
Hence why, yes, as you mentioned, they're not wearing socks for squats. They'll take the knee sleeves off, put their deadlift socks on, and go from there.
Correct.
Do you ever put your deadlift socks on before you bench? Is that kind of like a...
No,
there's nothing against it.
But like mentally, is it like...
the wedge, pulling the slack out. But once you get that, it's just learn to ride a bike. And who knows, maybe we'll see USA Powerlifting use a deadlift bar.
I don't
just
think
maybe,
that'll
but
ever
not
happen.
a strong chance of that happening.
Definitely not.
Definitely not the squat bar. Definitely not the squat bar.
I mean, as a lifter, I think it's great to have different platforms and different bars, if you will, but at the same time, I think it's kind of cool to have the same bar across the board.
It makes it easier to train. Again, we talk about that consistency, right?
Where $450 a bar, $350 a bar, as opposed to $300 to $400 for three
different bars. And but that's the thing and this is why lifters have options, right? I mean, there's different federations, so if there's something that suits you better, by all means, you've got plenty of ways to go about that.
And I do love the friendly banter, or sometimes friendly doesn't turn into, or stay friendly, but the banter back and forth between, a deadlift bar is cheating, use a stiff bar.
Oh, yeah, well, hey,
things like
sumo,
that.
conventional.
Yeah, sumo, conventional.
Right.
The knurling on the squat bar is always better than a 20-kilo bar. Things like that.
That's for sure. No, I mean, that's objective, Jason. That's objective.
It's what we have all the meme accounts for.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. And at the end of the day, depending on
bit. So far, smooth sailing for this meet. Obviously, Sabre's always going to try to get this better in one way or another, so we'll see.
And the more we do it, the better they go, right? The referees get more experience, the score table, the spotter loaders, and this all affects the speed of the meet.
Oh, yeah.
How quickly spotter loaders can switch over that weight has to do with how soon the referee can give the next, bars loaded command, and so on and so forth. And it's a domino effect throughout the whole meet.
And squats, at least in my experience, are usually the slowest part of the meet.
I would say yeah, I wouldn't disagree.
Yeah.
I sometimes would say bench, but I think bench ends up just a little bit faster.
Yeah.
I think people get under that bar and get the lift through a little bit more quickly, a little bit less distance to go.
I think the command standpoint for a referee, it's a little bit longer for the bench, but for spotters and loaders, which I've done for years, and it's a heck of a job, as we talked before. It's definitely easier for spotting and loading on the bench because you're not jumping up as large of jumps. And then when it comes down to deadlift, one, you're just ready to call it because you've been doing it for the last 6 hours.
Deadlifts, there's really not much spotting. You got one person standing behind in case you pass out and fall backwards.
Don't have to worry about rack heights either.
Yeah, there's no rack height changing. You're literally grabbing the plates,
the weight, throw it on,
and it off.
Yeah.
And I think, as you mentioned before, Ashley, that's what takes a first-time or second-time competitor to a skilled competitor, athlete at that point.
I'll give you a quick story. I recall one of the meets that I refereed. I think this was back in the Manassas days. It's been a while, but there was a food truck outside, and it was serving like fried chicken, spaghetti.
They had that at my meet.
Which is not what you want.
I will say, I told them carbs.
I'm going to make no other comments besides don't eat a bowl of spaghetti before deadlifts because I head refed, right? I was the chief referee, so in front, and there was a female deadlifting, and she locked it out, and good for her, she got the lift, but she did
lose a little bit of spaghetti.
And it just kind of was on her singlet. It at least wasn't
on you.
Projectile.
I've seen some bad stuff.
But you want to be careful when you're head reffing deadlifts. You want to sit off to the side.
Not
pull
straight
your chair back a few feet just in case somebody made the wrong food choice.
So that's why they don't do it directly in front of the lifter.
That and for the camera shot.
Yeah. Don't get in front of Sabre's camera, but also you don't want to be in the splash zone. It's not SeaWorld.
Solid over for Lorenzo.
Solid lift, yep.
You see that on squats sometimes too. You have them, you forget, you walk out.
Whoops.
We got Lorenzo looking to go 5 for 5. He was the lifter I said had a very explosive lockout on his opening bench, so we'll see what he's got going on here. He jumped up 7.5 kilos. I think he'll have this with flying colors. Now, he's a lifter. Not every lifter here is here solely just to compete for the pro, but I know he is for sure focused on getting to the pro. Believe he's competed in Raw Nationals. I need to fact check that real quick, y'all.
And for anybody listening, please feel free to comment on what you all think about this pro meet that's happening here in December.
His last meet was state championships. That's what it was. USA Powerlifting Virginia State Championships. See him with the self lift off, humble flex.
Glutes down on the bench, settling those shoulders. And that is about as smooth as it can get.
Yep.
Listening to the commands perfectly. 3 white lights, so he not only looks good, but also...
You'll see when he lifted off initially, his butt was still in the air, but he had like an upward and downward motion.
Well, that was a no lift for the previous, so we're coming up with Lorenzo. Third attempt.
Previous, it looked like he was still having some issues with those wrist wraps. I'm curious what the judges were talking to him about. If it was the thumb loops, or it might have been the amount of wrist and hand covered by that wrap. He looked like he had to readjust a few times there.
Yeah, he had a nice chunk from his wrist down to his forearm.
It looked like probably a little bit too much coverage.
Now, I don't think we'll see this here today, Ashley, but we might see it at the Pro December 4th. What's the rule on if someone wants to change their initial attempt? Like, let's say they put in 170 kilos for the second attempt, but they want to go 175. How many times can they change it? Can they change it?
Depends on what point in the day you're at. Once things started, it's a little bit tougher. You're a little bit more limited. You need to be, typically at least 3 lifters or 3 minutes out.
Gotcha.
But kind of once you're going, you're going. And again, typically the thing here is we don't lower the weight on the bar.
No,
right? So if you want to, then it kind of changes the order. You're out of order. We'd have to circle back to a lower weight, different things. But sometimes mistakes happen, right? And we're able to correct those and lower the weight at the end of the flight. And
blows my mind, man. Blows my mind.
So Skylar look on her face. She's like, I can't believe I just saw that.
You can't make this stuff up.
Only here at the Shop Dream Ashburn, folks.
We got Lorenzo so far 6 for 6, 666 pounds on the bar. I would never put that attempt choice in for the 3 6s ever.
Does that bother you?
No, at Nationals,
like
I put in 672, then went down 666, and then I'm like, can't do this. Went back up. Solid hook grip.
Very snappy lockout.
God, sumo is so hard to get right.
That's a wide stance, too.
Yep. They got on Sports Center.
Really?
Like Sports Center Instagram account.
Hey.
Nice. So maybe we'll see,
maybe
December 4th we'll see something.
Call some representatives, huh?
Yeah. A couple acts of Congress to make that happen.
We got Lorenzo jumping 17.5 kilos. His opener is very smooth. He's got 705 on the bar.
Yeah, his opener had a nice and snappy lockout. Pretty smooth here, too.
He'll probably jump about 10 kilos, I can imagine.
I would say. But there's a lot on the line, maybe 15. Is that too big?
Who knows? I mean, he said he's second overall.
What did you say?
So you can just exit stage, right?
Yep, please.
I forgot about Lorenzo.
Let's see what he has to offer.
723 pounds on the bar. 22, my mistake, folks.
Making a lot of mistakes these last couple minutes.
It's not how you finish, it's how you start, right?
No, I'm pretty sure it's how you finish.
Is it?
Pretty sure that's...
Jason, I'm special. I
have
special rules.
Very special.
Really dialing in here. Setting up that hook grip that we've talked about.
Hasn't been an issue so far today.
Wedge right in.
And
lock it out. Have to see from the side.
I think that's good. Yes.
That's a good lift.
3 white lights. He's loving it. It is.
Next up in second place. Whoop. Test. Lorenzo. I'm not even going to try that last name.